Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
everyone, and welcome to this very special celebration of the Haunted Village in Park Layne, Ohio. My name is Michael James Fry. Hello everyone, my name is Michael James Fry, and welcome to this very unique look at the Haunted Village in Park Layne from so long ago. I want to open by telling you I had the time of my life. It not only was one of the happiest times in my life, but ever since then it's been one of the happiest memories that I've had in my entire life. And so let's take a look at this. I'm going to tell you my story began in 1976 when I went there as a customer. I was just going to school in those days. I was 13 years old and I didn't know that there was going to be a haunted house. So when I found out about it, this was my chance to get inside that house. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was always fascinated with that house and the other buildings behind it and the barn, but especially that house. It was old, dirty, desecrated, abandoned, scary looking, ominous. This was the perfect place to have a haunted house. So when I found out about it in 1976, I had to go. So I went there, I paid my $1, and I went through the three or four buildings. We didn't have the maze in the first year, as I recall, but I went through, had the time of my life, wanted to go through again, and when I did, I saw a friend of mine named Lynn Jones. She is now Lynn Front, but Lynn Jones, she was a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. And I said, hey, Lynn, how did you get to work in this? How do you get involved with this? And she said, talk to the JCs. And so I did, and I got in just like that. I couldn't believe it. So by 1977, I was on the inside deal of the Haunted Village. I didn't get in the house, but I was working in the barn. I would hide back in my room in the corner like this. People would come walking in this way, and I'd come out and scare them. And it was the time of my life. You all know how much fun we had working in the Haunted Village. And I want to share something with you. Check this out. You might remember this picture that was in the newspaper. It was called the New Carlisle Sun back then, but that's me right there wearing a lab coat and a mask and holding a big bloody axe that I had made. And well, a lot of us got our pictures in the paper. Some of them you saw in this video. I would try to include as many pictures as I could in this video. But this was one of the times that I was featured, especially promoting the Haunted Village. And I've got something else to show you that's really special. It's inside this old vintage paper bag from the 1970s. And in here is the original mask that I wore from 1977. It's folded over and it has melted a little bit in the heat. The latex has dried out over the years and it's become brittle. But this is that original mask that I wore in 1977 in the barn. And you can sort of see a resemblance here in the paper. See that right there? And see this? This is that very same mask from back then. And once again, it was the time of my life. I really enjoyed myself, and it was just full of pleasant memories. I couldn't believe it when I found this mask. I looked for the axe, and I couldn't find it. I don't know what I did with the axe, but I had this right here, and it was fantastic. One of the best times I ever had. But it got better. By 1978, I was really on the inside of this deal, and I got inside this deal early. And we were hanging out on the front porch of the house with one of the JCs and a certain group of kids. I don't remember who they were, but we were talking about getting house managers together, or not house managers, but room managers. And I wanted to be a room manager. I said, make me a room manager. I won't let you down. I'll be here every single day. You can rely on me. I wanted this bad. And I mean, the moment I became a room chairman, I put my hand up and said, I get helter skelter. I want helter skelter. I made it real clear that I wanted to do Helter Skelter. This was 1978. Just 2 years before that, the Helter Skelter made-for-TV movie was broadcast nationally with Steve Railsback. Saying, I'm a victim of society. You know that I'm a good guy. The music made me do it. I didn't write the music. You all remember that? Steve Railsback? Well, I wanted to incorporate that in the house and make it a Helter Skelter room, and I got to do that. They let me have the room. And in November of that year, the JCs gave a party to all the workers at the back then it was the YMCA on 235 in between Park Layne and New Carlisle. And I was awarded this trophy as best room chairman. I don't know if you can see that there, but it has my name on it. It says best room chairman, 1978. I was 14 years old, and this was a highlight of my life because I loved that house. And it was such, to this day, it's still a fascination. How many of you went upstairs in the house? Because I know they told us nobody goes upstairs. That's because if you recall the steps, there were 2 staircases, one on either side of the house, if I remember correctly. And they told us, do not go upstairs because they didn't want anybody getting hurt. And I went up there, of course. How many of us ignored that and went upstairs anyway? I did, I had to, I was compelled, and I checked it out, and it was creepy. And it just seemed like somebody or something was gonna come jumping out from around the corner. The place was scary anyway, and I loved it. It was such a kick, a thrill, an adrenaline rush. Every time I went there, it was a solid, full adrenaline rush. And when I went up those stairs into the upper bedrooms in the house, the adrenaline was off the scales. I really had a good time. By the time 1979 rolled around, I was back in the barn and still having the time of my life. We had the maze back then. You could go through it as many times as you wanted to. They didn't charge us as workers. And if you remember, when you're looking at the barn, off to the right-hand side, there was a door, and that led to a small room. And in that room, that was the makeup area. All of the actors went in there and put on their makeup, and they made themselves look like ghosts, ghouls, goblins, whatever it was that they did, werewolves. I think we had a werewolf or 2. And there was a mirror in there that we all used. And when it was all over with, I found that mirror in the garbage. Somebody decided to throw it away, and I took that mirror. It was garbage. And I've used that mirror ever since. All those years I spent in New York City, it was on my apartment wall. And I have treasured this artifact. So I just want you to know, we still have the mirror from 1979. It's in storage right now, and so I was unable to show it in this video. But we have it, and perhaps one day when I can get out of storage, I'll make another video and I can show it to you. But after 1979, I believe that was my last year there. Maybe you can tell me what the last year was that we did the Haunted Village. Lastly, I just want to invite you that if you worked at the Haunted Village, in the comments section below, please give your name, if you care to give your name, or at the very least, tell me what year that you worked there, what building did you work in, what room did you work in, and any memories that you might want to share. This video here on YouTube is a chance, a place for all of us to get together and share our memories. I'm sure you had a good time if you worked there. I had such a good time. One of the highlights of my entire life, one of the happiest times I ever had. It was a delight. Every part of it was a delight. It was fun and could never be replaced or topped. So in the meantime, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. And I'll see you in the dark. Okay, I'm here at the archives here in New Carlisle. The New Carlisle Sun newspapers are all kept here. I'm above Carousel Art Galleries on Main Street. And here you can see one of the big books carrying the New Carlisle Sun newspapers. This is 1980 from June to December, and this is the front page of October 1st, 1980.
all of the years, as you saw previously in this video, 1976, 77, 78, and 79, they were all documented here in the New Carlisle Sun. And for 1980, there's just nothing here. And so it's clear that 1979 was the last year we had the Haunted Village. Otherwise, surely there would have been something here in these dusty old history books. It was great to flip through here, and I saw some old memories that I remember from when these newspapers were brand new. But nonetheless, 1979 for sure was the last year that we did the Haunted Village. So it was 76, 77, 78, 79. It was a 4-year deal, and I was blessed to be able to work the last 3 years out of the 4. It was a blast. In fact, it was very much fun.
Well, my friends, we are back to spend a little more time talking about the Haunted Village, and I want to share with you what I found in the attic of my parents' house in Park Layne. This is an original New Carlisle Sun, dated October 24th, 1979. Front page we're looking at here. And down here at the bottom of the front page, let me bring this in close so you can see it. Can you see that? That is Greg Collins being patted down by the cop. I remember that. I think I was there when we took the picture that night. And everybody thought it was a really good idea. And so I want to tell you, this newspaper, if you can see it up close, let me just bring it close to you again one more time so you can see what kind of shape this is in. Can you see that? It's tearing. It's something that is literally breaking apart in my hands. It's all dried up and it's just cracking up. There's a bunch of cracks through here and it's falling apart. And I'm going to see what I can do to preserve this memory so that I have it and we have it and it doesn't fall apart before it's too late. So I'm going to see what I can do about this.
Are you having a good time? I know that I am. Yeah.
And so I did it. Here it is. I took these pictures out of that old newspaper that was drying up. It was in bad shape. I really can't emphasize this enough. It was literally falling apart in my hands. Here we have the first set. This is how it originally was in the newspaper. And then Greg Collins being frisked by the police officer. These came from October 24th, 1979. And I'm just going to put them here and here. I haven't done this yet, but I think it's time for a drink. And since I don't drink, I have a nice cold can of seltzer water, lime-flavored seltzer water. And I just say, here's a toast to the Haunted Village, to everybody that worked there, to everybody that remembers it,
and especially to the JCs who sponsored it, and all the customers and the regulars who came through time and again. It was such a great time. Cheers! Here's to all of you for watching this video. Oh, that is good. That is so deeply good. I really like seltzer water. It's become my beer. Anyway, let's take a look up close at all of this memorabilia from 1977, 78, 79. I don't think I have anything from 1976, but let's take a closer look and see what we have. Okay, this is the first table, and what we have, if I can get out of the glare reflecting there, you can see Ohio's first JC's Haunted Village. We will scare the yell out of you. Okay, obviously, there's too much freaking glare. I can't even see what I'm trying to show you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot this again at night. In the evening. We're going to shoot again in the evening. Welcome. Welcome to the evening. Okay, it is now nighttime. Hopefully there's less glare on this glass. But this is my collection here of Haunted Village memorabilia, and we're just going to go down the line and I'll show you everything up close. This first item is the original poster from Fulmer's. In the beginning, it was Ohio's first JC's Haunted Village. We will scare the yell out of you. And we have our Grim Reaper here on the left carrying that scythe. You see him in this video. Here in the middle is a Park Layne pennant, and I just included this because the Haunted Village took place in Park Layne. These are pretty rare. I don't know if anybody else has any of these or not, but I won it in some kind of a game or a contest back in the 1970s at the old Park Layne Elementary School. And now it's just in this nice frame to protect it from harm, to preserve it. Over here is the next Haunted Village poster, and it became the world's first JC's Haunted Village. We will scare the yell out of you, and then all the dates there. Same Grim Reaper. This one has a little blood on his teeth. And one of the original Haunted Village half-price coupons. Boy, did I see a lot of those all over the place. People wanted to go, even if it was only $1, but they used those half-price coupons like crazy. There's the mask. You saw that earlier in the video. Melted, dried out, but still just an amazing relic from those days. Here we have a frame that has 3 5x7 pictures. The times that I was in the newspaper. I was in the newspaper 4 times, and this is 3 of those times. That's the concession stand shot. That's me on the left with my bloody axe. The last time you saw this, it was backwards. Everything in that other video was backwards. And I didn't realize that until afterwards, but then I didn't fix it because that's how things are in a haunted house. They are backwards. Here in the middle, The electric chair, that was in the main house. That's David Bunch and Debbie Kindred on the left. That's me in the back on the right, and I don't know who that is in the front on the right. And then over here is my favorite shot, certainly. This is the death child room, last room in the main house. I was room chairman. I did this after Helter Skelter. So I had a lot of fun in here, or I think I did it after Helter Skelter.
Are we live? Are we live? Yes. We're live! We're live! We're live!
Ladies and gentlemen, the producers of this program, called Madcap Enterprises, openly recognize that this video documentary is just plain too long. We know this. However, because we have the chance, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Helter Skelter room from 1977, the Death Child room from 1978, and the room in the barn from 1979, because, hey man, this is our chance to do that. So we're going to do that. We'll take a look at these rooms in greater detail, and then afterwards we'll pick up where we left off in the middle of the Haunted Village Museum. So fear not. Don't freak out. We're going to get right back to it, my friends. You'll have to trust us.
Just a few thoughts about Helter Skelter, because we're talking about Helter Skelter and that picture that we're looking at, the 3 5x7s in the frame. And I've been working on this documentary since last spring. It's now October of 2022. And I've been trying to reason through the chronology of what happened when in my own personal career there so I could share it with you. And I was getting confused about the timeline regarding Helter Skelter. Now, I seem to remember that there was a Helter Skelter room in 1976. My first year was 1977. And I think that's where I got the idea from, was the fact that there had already been a Helter Skelter room in 1976. And it impressed me. I have to be, really forward about that and say, I thought, to me, that was the ultimate room that you could have. And the reason why is, when you look back in the history of horror, everybody knew that Phantom of the Opera and Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Mummy, everybody knew that was all fiction. It was all made up. But when it comes to 1969 and the Tate LaBianca murders and the Manson family, this literally scared the daylights out of everybody in America and across the world. Actually, Vincent Bugliosi writes about this in his book Helter Skelter, which I think it came out in 1974. I'm not sure of that. But, the TV movie, I think, was based on the book. And he highlights in his book how gun sales and sales of knives skyrocketed after August of 1969 out of fear, genuine fear of the Manson family. And so when I went through the haunted village, and I think the room might have been in the main house, I saw Helter Skelter and I thought, that's it. That has to be the scariest thing you could do in a haunted house anywhere. So in 77, when we had that meeting on the front porch of the house, so I said, I want Helter Skelter, I want Helter Skelter. So I finally figured it out, because I knew the following year, in 1978, it was the Death Child room, and that was the last room in the house. Helter Skelter, because I'm getting memories coming back to me. And when I did the Helter Skelter room, I remember now, that was in the bathroom in the house. And the bathroom was located in the center of the house. You would go through, there was the first room, the second room, and you would come around, and the third room was the guillotine room, and then it was the bathroom, and then you would go back and there'd be one more room. So in 1977, the next to the last room was the bathroom, and that was Helter Skelter. That was my Helter Skelter. And then when I came back in 78, I got the last room in the house, and that was the Death Child room. In 79, I was out in the barn wearing that mask that you saw. So it was just, it's not that I wanted to actually scare people when they go home at night. I didn't have that kind of amusement with working there. But I wanted people to be freaked out. I didn't want them to just be entertained. I wanted to freak them out and really scare them and make it a night for them to remember. I took it seriously. I really wanted to scare people badly, and I did. I was good at it. It was fun. We were all good at it. Dr. Creep said the Haunted Village was the best haunted house he'd ever been invited to, and he said it in 1976, the very first year that the Haunted Village happened. Okay, just a few thoughts about that last room in the house, the Death Child room, and the room in the barn in 1979. I want to say that I carried over into 1978 all the blood and the gore from Helter Skelter in 1977 and kept it a bloody disgrace. I did the best I could to make it as scary as I possibly could. And the way I did that is, you see, when I worked in Helter Skelter, it was a small little bathroom. It was a tight little space. I worked by myself. But when you went around the corner into the last room in the house, where I worked in 1978, 77 was Helter Skelter. So in 1978, there was a lot more room in that back room. And what I did was, I took a door, an old door, and I turned it into a table, and I put a front panel on it, so you couldn't see what was happening underneath, right? And over on this end of the door, I cut out a hole. And I saw somebody there at the Haunted Village that I liked right off as somebody to work with. This was Debbie Kendrick. I liked her energy, I liked her attitude. She was just attractive as a worker in the Haunted Village. And so I approached her and I said, hey, Debbie, would you like to work in my room? I'm going to be the last room in the house. And she said, yes. And I couldn't believe what she let me talk her into doing, and that's what I'm going to tell you right now. I put this hole, the door is a table now, and I put a hole in this end, and it was a low riding table. And she got in underneath and got on her knees and put her head up through the door like this, and, tilted it to the side or whatever, so it would look like a decapitated head. And I took that same hammer that you see in the picture that I used to build the Haunted Village with, and the strobe lights were going, and there was blood everywhere, and I was pounding. People would come into the room in front of me, and I'm pounding the table right next to her head, all through the length of the table and right next to her head. And she was screaming, oh God, somebody help me, please, somebody, I'm gonna die, help me. And she went on and on and on like this, hour after hour after hour, night after night after night, and was a really good sport about it. And I couldn't have asked for somebody who would work harder than what she did. So Debbie, if you're watching this, thank you for working so hard in my room. You helped make it a tremendous success. Now, the other part of this room is off to my left. I'm facing the rail in front of me, and that would be to the right hand, the people who are walking through the room, they walk through this way. In front of me, I'm in the room, and they walk through this way. Off to the left, which is what you see in the picture, was a table designed. This is disgusting, okay? I admit this, and I don't know what the hell was going on in my head, except that dead baby jokes were popular when we were in high school. And this was meant to sacrifice babies and bodies on this small little table. We built a cross on it, and it had blood on it, and it said death across the front, written in blood. And even up on the wall, I nailed a board, painted it white, put blood all over it, and nailed a baby's head to it. This was disgusting. I mean, that was the thing about the Helter Skelter room. Helter Skelter was scary enough because it was Helter Skelter. I upped the ante when it came to the Death Child room because I involved Debbie, and it was another actor. There were two people involved. So when people walked in, they saw a scene unfolding in front of them. Instead of just, be scared, it's Helter Skelter. This was something that was happening, horrific, disgusting, despicable, just, oh my God, horrific, a horrific scene. And maybe that's why I got best room chairman, I don't know. But it was a successful room. People really got scared when they went in. They would see, as soon as people understood what was going on, they went right out the back door of the house. And they were scared to go into the next building. So that's what happened in the Death Child room. It was very, very bloody. If you go back and you look at that picture again, you can see that this was really over the top. I mean, it just goes beyond description how disgusting this actually was. Now, when we get to the barn in 1979, everything dropped down for me. I don't know why. It's just maybe it had to do with the timing of when I got involved with the village that year. But I wound up in the barn, and I was just behind a panel that looked like it was made out of bricks, strobe lights going. I came out with the mask and the lab coat and the axe and scared people. I was peeking out, watching them come in. They'd get about halfway across, and I'd jump out and I'd scare them. And that's it. It was just a quick, and that's all it was in the barn for me personally. But the bloody baby room, the Death Child room, that sick and depraved, disgusting scene, that was my big success at the Haunted Village. More successful than when I did Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter was equally as fun, but it was not as good a room because I had Debbie working with me and people saw a scene. So that's it. That's what happened in the Helter Skelter room and the Death Child room, and then when I worked over in the barn. And all I know is that it was great fun to scare people because you never know what's going to happen.
Congratulations! You have successfully made it through this lengthy yet informative, documentative interruption. We thank you for your cooperation and now return you to our exploration of the Haunted Village Museum.
But anyway, using a hammer there in that picture. And then we move on here. One more look at the trophy that I won in 1978 as best room chairman from the Haunted Village. I got this trophy for being room chairman of this room. And when you take a look at that hammer, that's it right there. That is the actual hammer. Let me give you a close-up because I want to show you something. We scan down here, and you can plainly see some red paint on there. That is some of the blood that was in this room. All that bloody red paint, that's the same hammer, and that is some of the original blood from 1978. 78, 49, 40, I can't do the math, 40 some years ago. I don't know if anybody remembers this or not, but it wasn't just the JCs who put together the construction for the haunted village, but at least in 1978, I have a clear memory of them asking all the kids, all of us, who were helping with the construction to bring our own hammers. And I did. This here is the hammer that I brought to use to help build and maintain the integrity of the internal structure and any outer walls or anything else you would use a hammer for. That's the one that I used back in 1978 and probably in 79 too. Over here are the newspaper articles and photographs. This one you already saw. This is from that newspaper that was falling apart. That's Greg Collins being frisked by the cop. These have all been laminated now, so they won't dry out anymore. That's the one that you saw earlier in this video. Now you're seeing it not backwards, but the way it actually is. I made that axe myself, that bloody axe. I know that it broke, and I must have thrown it out because I couldn't find it. Over here is the original newspaper clipping of the Death Child room. And here you saw this one just a few minutes ago. That's Greg Collins as Frankenstein and me as a ghoul. I'm chopping a hot dog on that stand and the lady's freaking out. That's what that is. So I'm using the axe to chop a hot dog in half. Over here is that famous group photo, which I think was taken in 1977. You'd have to go back into this video because I dated it, I think. But anyway, that's me right there. That's David Hegwood on the left. And this right here is Debbie Kindred in the front and the middle. And I just had to frame this image so that I could remember that and have just a stroll down memory lane. All these things. Just such a wonderful stroll down memory lane. I even had this composite put together. The 4 times I was in the newspaper for the Haunted Village, and together, that's my collection of the newspaper articles, and then everything all together. This is the Haunted Village Museum here that we're taking a look at. And it was just, I keep saying this, it was just the best time ever. And there's just one last thing we need to take care of, so let's jump into that. Okay, before we wrap everything up, let me get my drink because, hey, this is a party. What happened to the 2 tables? What happened to all the memorabilia? And wasn't it daylight? No, it was nighttime. Didn't we just shoot here at nighttime a few minutes ago? What am I doing here? How did I get up here? How did I get up here? This is weird. This is weird. I'm telling you, Park Layne is one weird place, man. It was the perfect place to have a haunted village. Didn't I already open this can? What's going on around here? Look, I just have a couple more thoughts I want to share with you, thoughts I've been thinking about. I'm getting a little nervous, that's why I'm pacing, because geez, this place is weird. Anyway, I had a couple of final parting thoughts before we do something real special here. And that is, I wanted to talk to you about the smell of the haunted village. There was a certain dirty, musty smell that was there. It really gave the place a lot of character, and I was thinking, you know how in the movie Jaws, the music, dun-na, 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 you know how that was a character in the movie? And then in 1974, and just before Jaws, in the TV show Kolchak, the Night Stalker, there was commentary that the darkness, a lot of it took place at night, and that the darkness itself in the TV show was a character. And I was thinking, with the haunted village, the smell in the house and the barn and the other two buildings, that dusty, musty, dirty smell, it gave the place a certain character. I knew that whenever I went there and I would smell that I was in this place where I felt honored and privileged to be. So I never forgot that smell. Whenever I went there, I would enjoy it. It would be kind of like just more of an affirmation that, yeah, I'm actually here. This is the haunted village. I'm on the inside of this gig. I'm having a great time. It made it enjoyable. I really liked it. I could have sworn I opened this already. I don't know. Anyway, the other thing is, from time to time on Facebook or elsewhere online, someone will make a post about the haunted village, and you see it there on the screen, and somebody will make a comment and they will say, I babysat at that house. And if you're someone who was a babysitter at that house, please, please, please leave a comment in the comments section below, because I'd really like to know what that house was like before it became a haunted house. I don't have any memory of the place at all before it was abandoned. I don't know why, and I don't know what year it became an abandoned house. So I'd like to know what year it became an abandoned house. And for any of you that have any memories you'd like to share about what the place was like before it became a haunted house, I'd really like to know. Did you get inside the barn or the other buildings also? I'd like to know that. And so lastly, the thing to do to round out this video documentary is to go to the location and see what it looks like today. So we're going to do that. Let's pack everything up. I've got my ice cold seltzer water that I opened twice, and we're going to go down to where the location is and see what the haunted village landscape looks like today.
Okay, that over there off in the distance in the middle of the blue is where Fulmer's used to be. It's now called Community Market, and you go across the street here, and this is where the haunted village used to be. That's Steyer Drive, and it went right down across Steyer, and right where that bank is approximately where the old house was. And there's a place across the street there called Carmela's, and that is approximately where the barn and the maze were. It's all approximate because the amount of land to take up the bank and Carmela's is actually larger than the property that contained the house, the snake pit, the other building, the barn, and the maze. They were all kind of tightly strung together, but this is it. This is what it looks like in 2022, 43 years after the haunted village closed in 1979. Steyer Drive. And this is it. That's approximately where the barn was. Remember all the brush and the trees and everything that used to be here? And right here, right about there actually, is where the old house was. And we used to look across the street and see Fulmer's right over there, now Community Market. I'm standing on hallowed ground, or
hallowed ground. It broke my heart when they tore this place down. I had so much fun here at the Haunted Village. It really was one of the happiest times of my entire life. And now it is a memory for you and me to share. Thanks again to the JCs for putting all this together and making just a lifetime of great memories. The Haunted Village, Park Layne, Ohio, 1976, 1977, 1978, and 1979. It was a success. Thanks for watching.